The observation deck of the Talleyrand prison ship hummed with the usual sounds of containment. Force fields crackling, guards muttering in their clicking language, and the occasional scream from some unfortunate soul being processed. Commander Valtos stood before the reinforced viewing panel, his 4 eyes fixed on the human in cell 47. The creature sat cross-legged on the floor, utterly still. Its face bore thick facial hair, an evolutionary oddity that marked humans as particularly primitive among spacefaring species. The beard covered most of its lower face, dark and unkempt after 3 cycles of captivity. "This one concerns me," Valtos said to his second, Officer Crane. The psychological profile shows abnormal attachment to physical appearance traits. Crane's tentacles rippled in what passed for a shrug among his kind. "It is just grooming behavior. We have seen humans grow agitated over their head fur before. Nothing unusual." "No," Valtos insisted. "Read the transcript from intake again. When we processed him, he said something specific. He said if we touched his facial hair, there would be consequences. Empty threats. They all make them." Valtos was not convinced. This human, designated as prisoner 4719, had been captured during a raid on a human supply depot near the Outer Rim. Unlike the other humans they had taken, this one had not begged or bargained. He had simply stated his one condition, then remained silent for 3 cycles straight. The prison ship was 9 days from reaching the Talleyrand homeworld, where prisoner 4719 would be sold to labor colonies along with the rest of the human cargo. It should have been routine. Valtos had overseen hundreds of such transfers, but something about this human made his scales itch. "Run the compliance protocol," Valtos ordered. "Standard procedure for all prisoners before planetary arrival. Full decontamination and grooming." Crane's eyes widened. "Sir, perhaps we should make an exception." The human was very specific about. "I do not negotiate with prisoners." Valtos cut him off. "Initiate the protocol." 2 hours later, 4 guards entered cell 47 with restraint equipment and grooming tools. The human, whose name they had learned was simply called Jack, opened his eyes as they approached. He had been meditating or sleeping, or perhaps just conserving energy. Now he looked at each guard in turn, his expression unreadable behind the thick beard. "Do not do this," Jack said quietly. His voice carried no anger, no fear, just a statement of fact. The lead guard, a hulking Bravix named Tormund, activated the neural restraints. Electromagnetic pulses locked Jack's limbs in place, freezing him in position. The human did not struggle. He simply watched as they brought the molecular shears closer to his face. "Last warning," Jack said. "You will regret this." Tormund laughed, a sound like grinding stones. "Your threats mean nothing here, human. You are property now." The shears hummed to life. Tormund reached for the beard, and in 3 efficient passes, removed every trace of facial hair from Jack's face. The human's jaw tightened, but he made no sound. When it was done, his face looked younger, smoother, almost vulnerable. The guards left, satisfied with their work. Jack sat in silence for 10 seconds. Then 20. Then a full minute. When he finally moved, it was with purpose. He stood and walked to the corner of his cell, where the waste recycling unit connected to the wall. His fingers traced the seam where metal met composite material. Then, with deliberate care, he began to pull. The sound of tearing metal echoed through the cell block. Alarms shrieked to life. Valtos ran to the observation deck in time to see Jack rip a 2-foot section of reinforced plating from the wall with his bare hands. The human's face showed no strain, no emotion at all. He simply tore through metal designed to withstand plasma cutters as if it were paper. How is that possible? Crane whispered. Jack moved to the cell door. The force field should have stopped him. Should have. He reached out and placed both palms against the humming energy barrier. His skin began to smoke, but he did not pull away. Instead, he pushed. The force field flickered, weakened, and then died with a sound like breaking glass. "Seal all corridors," Baltos shouted into his comm. "Deploy security teams to level 4 immediately." But Jack was already moving. The first security team met him at the junction of corridors. B and C6 Talran soldiers in full combat armor, armed with pulse rifles. They opened fire without hesitation. Jack moved between the shots within human speed, closing the distance before they could adjust their aim. What happened next would be reviewed by Talran military analysts for years to come. Trying to understand how a single unarmed human defeated 6 trained soldiers in under 30 seconds. Jack did not kill them. That would have been simpler. Instead, he systematically dismantled them, breaking weapons, shattering armor, and leaving each guard conscious but immobilized. He wanted them to remember, wanted them to report what they had seen. The second team fared no better, nor the third dot. By the time Jack reached the ship's armory, 17 guards lay in his wake, none dead, all defeated. He equipped himself with a plasma rifle and a bandolier of concussion grenades, then proceeded to the command deck. Baltos had barricaded himself in the bridge with the remaining security forces. They had sealed the blast doors and activated every defensive measure the ship possessed. Nothing should have been able to breach those defenses. Jack placed a single concussion grenade against the door's locking mechanism, stepped back, and detonated it. The blast sent the doors flying inward with enough force to embed them in the far wall. "Surrender," Jack said, stepping through the smoke. "Or this gets worse." Baltos stared at the human, trying to reconcile what he was seeing with everything he knew about the species. Humans were physically weak, emotionally unstable, prone to panic under pressure. This creature before him was none of those things. "You are one being," Baltos said, his voice trembling despite himself. "We are 12. You cannot." Jack raised the plasma rifle and fired a single shot that vaporized Balthas's command console. "I can. The question is whether you make me." The remaining crew looked at their commander. Baltos felt their fear, smelled it in the air. They had all heard the same rumors about humans, dismissed them as propaganda. Humans bonded with anything. Humans felt emotions that drove them to impossible actions. Humans had something called a berserk rage that transformed them in battle. But those were just stories, except the human standing before them had just proven otherwise. "Stand down," Baltos ordered his crew. They dropped their weapons instantly. Jack moved to the helm controls, his rifle never wavering from the Talran crew. "You are going to release every prisoner on this ship. Then you are going to set course for the nearest neutral station. Then you are going to submit a full report to both Talran and human authorities about what happened here." "They will never believe," Baltos started. "They will," Jack interrupted, "because you will also explain that this could have been avoided. All of this. Every broken door, every injured guard, every moment of terror you just experienced. All of it could have been prevented if you had simply respected one boundary. One simple request." He lowered the rifle slightly, and for the first time since entering the bridge, his expression changed. Not to anger, but to something sadder, disappointment. "I told you not to shave me," Jack said quietly. "I told you there would be consequences. You thought I was bluffing, thought I was weak. But here is what you failed to understand about humans. We mean what we say. When we draw a line, we defend it. When we make a promise, we keep it. And when someone crosses a boundary we have clearly established, we respond." Baltos felt his scales go cold. It was just hair, cosmetic, meaningless. "To you," Jack said, "but not to me. And that is the lesson you needed to learn." What seems meaningless to you might be everything to someone else. Respect costs nothing. Disrespect costs everything. The human gestured with the rifle. Now move. You have prisoners to release. 3 hours later, the prison ship's cargo hold stood empty. 200 prisoners from a dozen species stood free, many still processing what had happened. Jack had personally supervised their release, ensuring each one received adequate supplies and access to the ship's escape pods. The Palran crew remained locked in their own holding cells, unharmed but thoroughly humiliated. Jack stood at the helm, programming coordinates into the navigation system. The nearest neutral station was 4 days away at current speed dot as he worked. His hand occasionally moved to his now smooth jaw. The gesture was unconscious, automatic, a reminder of what had been taken. When the coordinates were set, Jack activated the ship-wide communication system. To anyone listening, my name is Jack Rivera. For 3 months, I served as a medic with the Human Expeditionary Force. I took an oath to do no harm. When I was captured, I maintained that oath. I did not resist because I did not want to hurt anyone. All I asked was one simple thing: leave my beard alone. He paused, gathering his thoughts. That beard represented 3 years of growth. 3 years of surviving in deep space. 3 years of remembering who I was before the war. It was not vanity. It was identity. It was the one piece of myself I could control when everything else had been taken. And when they took that too, they did not just remove hair. They removed the last restraint I had on what I could become. His voice hardened. Let this be a lesson to every species that thinks humans are soft. We are compassionate, cooperative,